Oh my god, hey! Welcome back to my Stager YouTube channel. If you're seeing my face for the first time, my name is Mickey Joe and I'm obsessed with all things theatre. One of the most popular new musicals right now in the UK is Heathers. Since it first opened at the Other Palace a few years ago, it has enjoyed lots of success, transferring to the Theatre Royal Haymarket in the West End, returning to that venue a few years later, touring all around the UK, and now reopening triumphantly at the Other Palace. I've been fortunate enough to see most of these productions, and so I was desperate to see this new class at Westerburg High before some of them departed the show. So I got myself a front row Today Tix rush ticket and headed back to the Other Palace to go and see Heathers again. And today I'm going to let you know what I think with a full review of the production. So Heathers for me is a 4-star show. It's really fun, it's really enjoyable, the music is really compelling, it's a great score. It's understandable why it's built up this enormous fan base that it has and become one of the most recognisable musical names for especially young musical theatre fans in the UK. You know, there are some question marks around whether the plot is modelling the best kind of behaviours morally, but then it does a pretty good job of aligning itself at the end and calling out the right things, even if some of the takeaways from the show are a little bit wrong. One of my favourite things about Heathers is the fact that it's a young cast, which means so often it's able to give opportunities to emerging talent, to rising stars in the West End and drama school graduates. And this cast was full of both. So I will say first of all that I booked these tickets because Emma Kingston was leaving the show. Emma Kingston plays Heather Chandler in this run at the Other Palace, and I'm a huge fan of hers. I have seen most of the stuff that she has done in the last few years. Last year I named her my favourite vocal performance of 2021, and so I was so excited to see what she was going to do with this role, not only vocally, but in terms of the entire performance. Controversially, as much as she works aesthetically in the role, I don't know if Heather Chandler was the best fit for her. Now, I've seen Heathers 4 times, and 3 of those times I've seen Jodie Steele in the role, and having Jodie as a predecessor here is a large pair of shoes to fill, because she's so high energy, she's so funny, she milked every single line for the comedy that she could mine out of it. She was absolutely fantastic. She was an utter scene stealer who completely understood and inhabited this character and just ruled over the entire production. There are times in this show where Emma feels a little bit out of her depth, or just like she's not completely comfortable. And Candy Store was the big moment for me. I felt like I could see her focusing on choreography rather than just existing in it and living in it and dominating the entire moment. And so many musical theatre performers would own it and kill it. Like, who doesn't want to be a Heather Chandler and just be completely in charge of that number and be front and centre in Candy Store, shoving the other host to the floor? Don't get me wrong, fantastic vocally, funny, bitchy, like she found all the right tones. It just didn't get all the way there for me. Elisa Davidson, meanwhile, is the new Veronica for the Other Palace run, and maybe my favourite Veronica that I have seen. Not only vocally, but like the way that she delivered her comedy moments. She did this excellent just like gurning face to the audience on various different lines, like when she puts her foot in her mouth about JD, or every time that he says something like mysterious and cool and she's like, oh my god. It gets a little bit old because she reuses the same facial expression a few times, but it's still funny. It was giving me very 90s sitcom humor energy. I will say, her voice was thrilling to me and beautiful, and then it got a little bit samey. And I said the same thing about Christina last summer. I want there to be rise and fall vocally in a Veronica performance. There was one specific bit at the start of the second act before the gay funeral, you heard me. It's the bit where she sings, "God have mercy on my soul," and I wanted it to be like that, where it's suddenly slightly softer, but it was very, "God have mercy on my soul," and I wanted her to ease off the pedal a little bit. Her "I say no" was everything, because that's when you want it full throttle, and she did some sort of crazy option up at the end. I threw my hands in the air. I was having a great time. Jacob Fowler has been understudying JD ongoingly for most of this run. He was fantastic, vocally to die for. Oh my gosh, his vibrato was just sumptuous. I would describe it as sumptuous. He was really dreamy and cute in the beginning. I could have used him going a little bit more unhinged towards the end and just letting rip with it more, because you can go completely crazy when you have a song like Meant to Be Yours. Lizzie B as Martha Dunstock was really fun as well. Now, Lizzie was actually part of the original workshop cast of the show, not all of whom went on to be in the original West End production. A lot of the Marthas I've seen have played it the same way, and I've seen 3 others in my time. You know, they play it slightly sad girl at the beginning, and she was just so peppy and so happy and so chipper at the beginning, and I think that made her downward spiral into depression all the more meaningful. You know, she was happy with Veronica at the start, and then that's what she lost. Also, some very interesting choices, because she played, I'd say, the first half of Kindergarten Boyfriend very comedically. It was just the way that she clipped everything and just stared deadpan forwards. It was very like, ooh. Then he woke up. It was hilarious. And I was thinking, I don't know if this interpretation is working for me. And then I realized I thought about the lyrics, and the whole thing is written to be ridiculous. And it meant that when she got to the actual really sad bit, the belty rapturous part, she was able to then sort of shift it and go into a more emotional place. And I appreciated the duality of that. Clever acting through song choices. Lizzie B knows what's up. I also need to shout out Vicky Lee Taylor as Miss Fleming. She milked Shine a Light like nobody that I have ever seen before. Like Lauren Ward before her, she drops into a split at the end. Vicky Lee Taylor is a dancer. I've seen her in a chorus line, but when she picked out Steve in the middle of the audience, we were there for a good 2-3 minutes with a spotlight on this guy while she was just making the most of this. At various points in the show, the older cast members who were playing the adults milked whatever chance they had to get a decent pause moment, like the big pause in Dead Gay Son where he's waiting to say that was one hell of a fishing trip. It took ages. All of the younger cast on stage are just giggling behind their shocked hands. It lasted a very, 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 very long time. The star of the entire show for me, however, was Inez Budd. Now, of the 3 Heather Dukes that I have seen in my time, Inez, far and away my favourite. Just her characterisation at the beginning, where she was being all like disgruntled that Heather C kept making fun of her and let Veronica use her as a desk. It was so Riverdale, it was so teen high school series, it was so teen movie, it was that perfect characterisation that you recognise from all of this media. And then when she ascends to take over from Heather Chandler's reign, it was just glorious. Everything she did on that stage, I was obsessed with. Her physicality, the sass of it all, she was fantastic. And the vocals, when she did Never Shut Up Again, I was so looking forward to that number because she had built up her characterization so well. I was like, this is going to be really great. And it absolutely paid off. It was so good. You know, there's so many moments in Heather's that are just fantastic. I think Shine a Light was a really strong moment for this. I think just that audience engagement, when you're in a more intimate venue like the other Palace, it really pays off when they engage with the audience because you feel very immersed in it anyway, so them acknowledging that is really rewarding. Like I've said, Never Shut Up Again was fantastic just because Inez was killing it. It was a really nice cohesive cast. So some of my favourite moments from the show was when they were all together in Beautiful, in Dead Gay Son. Those were some of my favourite parts. Not that the individual performances weren't also really strong, but it was just nice to see them all coming together as an ensemble. Everyone felt very even. There was no sort of power imbalance between the cast. I think because most of them were new to the roles, only a couple of them had been attached to previous productions. So there was this real nice sense of unity. So even though some of the current cast members are going to be leaving the production soon, The show has extended and is now playing at the Other Palace until May of this year. Now the show is popular, but I did manage to get a front row rush ticket for the Saturday matinee. What this means is if you download and install the TodayTix app at 10 AM on every day where there are performances, a bunch of tickets, usually the front row I think exclusively, go on sale for £25. It's an amazing seat, it's a very low stage, you can see everything. Tom Scanlon is just right there. Honestly, that should be a warning on the ticket because several women to my right nearly had a cardiac episode. And by several women to my right, I mean me. But the Other Palace is such a lovely venue. I always enjoy visiting there. They have so much merch available. They have a themed cocktail menu with non-alcoholic options as well, I believe. It's super cute. It's a great theatre going experience. I can highly recommend it if you're a fan of the show. So if you don't know Heathers already, you will love this. If you're a fan of any kind of teen, high school, angsty, emotional, musical thing. If you like Mean Girls, if you like Beetlejuice, if you're still watching Riverdale, props to you if you are. If you like Euphoria, if you used to watch Gossip Girl. It's a really mixed audience. It is not just teenage girls who are going to see Heathers. I may have been the only man on the front row. That is my personal prerogative. But I maintain that this is a show that has broad appeals. Like the humor definitely has a lot of adult content and, you know, there are some trigger warnings worth looking into as well. But it's just a fun show. It's a great musical and something that I think a lot of people will really enjoy. So Heathers is about to be announcing its new cast soon, and I have seen some sneak peeks of who they might be unveiling by the time this video has come out. Perhaps they will already have announced. Some things that I could hope for from this production are a slightly greater level of diversity, by which I mean a much greater level of diversity. This is probably the least diverse cast of Heathers that we've had in a long time, which is disappointing because when the show had returned to the Theatre Royal Haymarket last summer, that was the most diverse that the cast had ever been, and this just feels like a step backwards. It feels very much like they are doing a bare minimum because they understand that Heather Duke is now expected to be a black character, and so there has to be one black understudy also in the ensemble, and beyond that they're like, fine, everyone else can be white. Maintaining Heather Duke as a POC, absolutely great. I support that because those roles shouldn't go back to white performers because there is so little available for non-white performers in the first place. But why do any of the rest of these characters have to be white? Why is Veronica Sawyer always a white brunette? Why are we always casting it in exactly the same way? We've had enough different productions of Heathers now. It's becoming conspicuous that some of these characters are deliberately cast white every single time. Also, why is Martha the only plus size character? I get that there are specific references to her size in the script, but that doesn't mean that she needs to be the only plus size character at that school. That's not realistic either. Hopefully, with the next cast announcement, some of this will be rectified and I'll be able to fully support and endorse this production. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe to my channel for lots of extra special stagey content. Also, if you want to support me as a stagey content creator, head over to patreon.com/Mickey Joe Theatre, where you can gain access to lots of extra photos and extra special YouTube videos. I post extended versions of videos, I post early releases of videos, and I post videos that are only ever going to be seen on Patreon. I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day.
For 10 more seconds, I'm Mickey Joe Theatre. Oh my god, hey, thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!